Imagine this. You're driving on a busy road. Someone cuts you off, and immediately your heart fills with anger. Now think about this. How often do small things like this trigger frustration and bitterness in us? Isn't it strange how quickly we forget kindness and let negativity take over? Now here's a question. Why is it easier to hold on to bitterness than to show love? Why do jealousy and anger creep into our hearts so effortlessly? The truth is, love is hard. It requires us to let go of our ego, forgive, and put others first. But here's the good news. God gave us the perfect blueprint to overcome this. Stick with me as we dive deep into how the Bible teaches us to replace bitterness with love and jealousy with kindness. You'll hear stories that will move your heart, maybe make you laugh a little, and by the end, I promise, you'll see why love is worth it. Chapter 1. The Greatest Commandment. When Jesus was asked, "What is the greatest commandment?" he didn't hesitate. He said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and then love your neighbor as yourself." Matthew 22, verses 37 to 39. That's it. Love is the ultimate goal. But loving your neighbor isn't always easy. Imagine loving that nosy neighbor who gossips about you, or the colleague who takes credit for your work. Jesus didn't say it would be easy, but he said it's necessary. In John 13, Jesus, the Son of God, did something remarkable. He washed his disciples' feet. Even Judas, the one who would betray him, was not excluded. Jesus showed us that love is not about convenience. It's about humility and sacrifice. A woman once found out her co-worker had been spreading lies about her. Instead of retaliating, she baked a cake and brought it to the office, saying, "I appreciate all you do." Over time, her act of kindness melted the co-worker's heart, and they became close friends. Love disarms hate. It's as simple and powerful as that. Chapter 2. The Power of Kindness. Proverbs 11:17 says, "A kind person benefits themselves, but a cruel person brings ruin." Did you know that showing kindness not only helps others, but also uplifts you? Science even says it releases feel-good hormones. So why do we sometimes hold back? The story of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10:25-37, is a classic example. A priest and a Levite walked past a man beaten and left to die, but a Samaritan, someone from a despised group, stopped to help. He didn't ask, "What's in it for me?" He simply showed kindness. Picture this. A grumpy old man shoveling snow in front of his house. Everyone avoids him because he's always yelling. One day, a boy offers to help him. The man softens, tears up, and says, "You're the first person who's shown me kindness in years." That's the power of one small act. It changes hearts. Chapter 3. The Poison of Bitterness. Bitterness is like drinking poison and hoping someone else suffers. It eats you from the inside. The Bible warns us in Ephesians 4:31-32 to get rid of all bitterness and be kind. Cain and Abel, Genesis 4:1-16, is a tragic story of how jealousy destroyed a family. Cain, consumed by envy of Abel's favor with God, killed his own brother. God asked him, "Where is your brother?" But Cain's heart had already hardened. Bitterness blinds us to love. A man hated his neighbor for years because of a mango tree that dropped fruit into his yard. One day, he decided to chop it down. But guess what? He accidentally fell into the ditch he dug under the tree as a trap and had to call the neighbor for help. Sometimes, our bitterness backfires in the most ridiculous ways. Chapter 4. Overcoming Jealousy. Lessons from Joseph's brothers. Jealousy whispers lies into our ears. They have what you deserve. But jealousy, like bitterness, never leads to good. Joseph's brothers, Genesis 37, were so jealous of their father's love for him that they sold him into slavery. But years later, Joseph forgave them, saying, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. God can use even the worst situations for His glory. A woman envied her friend's success so much that she distanced herself. Years later, when she faced a crisis, that same friend helped her out of love. Jealousy almost cost her a true friendship, but kindness restored it. Chapter 5. Practical ways to love like Christ. Love is not just a warm feeling or a poetic idea. It's an intentional act that reflects God's heart. In 1 Corinthians 13:4-7, Paul gives us a roadmap for living out love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not self-seeking. Let's break these down and make them practical, with stories to inspire and even make you smile. Love is patient. Patience is the ability to endure, to wait without frustration, and to give others room to grow. Think about it. Patience is often tested in the small things. For example, standing in a long queue, dealing with a friend who talks too much, or waiting for your child to clean their room after you've asked 5 times. Example, God's patience with the Israelites in the wilderness, Exodus 16. Despite their constant complaining, "We're hungry, we're thirsty, we miss Egypt," God continued to provide manna and water. He didn't abandon them. He patiently guided them to the promised land. A man once prayed, "Lord, teach me patience." The next day, he got stuck in traffic, his toddler threw a tantrum, and his phone broke. Frustrated, he shouted, "God, what's this?" And God whispered, "You asked for patience, didn't you?" Sometimes patience is built through life's little irritations. Love is kind. Kindness is love in action. It's not just thinking about helping, it's doing something about it. Kindness doesn't require wealth or grandeur. Even a smile or a helping hand can change someone's day. The story of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10:25-37. While others ignored the injured man, the Samaritan went out of his way to help, bandaging his wounds and paying for his care. Kindness crosses barriers of culture, status, and convenience. A grumpy old man sat outside his house every morning, glaring at anyone who passed by. One day, a little girl walked up, handed him a flower and said, "This is for you." The man burst into tears and later told his neighbors, "No one has shown me kindness in years." Small acts have big impacts. Love is selfless. Selflessness is putting others first. It's easy to say, "I love you," but true love shows in sacrifice. Selflessness means letting go of what's in it for me and focusing on the good of others. Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Jesus gave up everything, not for his gain, but for ours. A wife asked her husband, "If I were on a sinking ship, would you save me?" The husband replied, "Of course. I'd jump in and find someone who could swim." Selflessness is more than words. It's taking action even when it costs us something. Chapter 6. Steps to apply practical ways to love like Christ. 1. Pray for those who hurt you. Jesus taught in Matthew 5:44, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Prayer doesn't just change the person you're praying for, it changes you. It softens your heart and helps you see them through God's eyes. A man hated his boss, who was always unfair and rude. Instead of quitting or fighting back, he started praying for her daily. Over time, he noticed her attitude softening, and he realized his own bitterness had faded too. Prayer is a two-way blessing. 2. Serve others selflessly. Serving doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as helping someone carry groceries, visiting a lonely neighbor, or volunteering your time. Jesus washed his disciples' feet, John 13:12-17, a lowly task that showed love through service. A woman decided to serve her family by cooking a lavish dinner. After hours in the kitchen, she burned the roast and dropped the pie. Her family said, "Mom, we appreciate the love, but next time, just order pizza." Service isn't about perfection, it's about the heart behind it. 3. practice gratitude to combat jealousy. Jealousy blinds us to our blessings. Gratitude opens our eyes. Philippians 4:6 reminds us to present our requests to God with thanksgiving. When you focus on what you have, jealousy loses its grip. A woman envied her friend's new car until her old car broke down, and a stranger offered her a free ride. She realized, I was so focused on what I didn't have, I forgot to be thankful for the kindness of others. Gratitude shifts your perspective. 4. Forgive without expecting anything in return. Forgiveness is at the heart of Christ-like love. Jesus forgave those who crucified him, saying, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Luke 23:34. Forgiveness frees you from the weight of bitterness. A man held a grudge against his neighbor for stealing his oranges. One day, he climbed the tree to pick them all before the neighbor could. He fell and broke his leg. While lying there, the neighbor brought him soup and said, I'm sorry for plucking your oranges. The man laughed and thought, God really has a sense of humor. Living out love like Christ isn't easy, but it's rewarding. Remember, patience grows through practice, kindness multiplies through action, and selflessness blesses both the giver and receiver. Start small and watch how love transforms your life. Chapter 7, Healing Through Forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about letting someone off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of bitterness. When we forgive, we reflect God's grace, which He freely gives to us despite our flaws. It's not easy, but it is essential for emotional and spiritual freedom. Unforgiveness is like carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. It slows you down, drains your energy, and robs you of joy. Jesus knew this, which is why, even as He hung on the cross, He prayed, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Luke 23:34. Joseph's story, Genesis 45, is a perfect illustration. After being sold into slavery by his brothers and enduring years of hardship, Joseph had every reason to be angry. Instead, he forgave them, saying, You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. His forgiveness restored his family and revealed God's greater plan. A man found out his best friend ate the last piece of his birthday cake. For weeks, he refused to talk to him. When the friend finally apologized, he said, I forgive you, but next time, buy me 2 cakes. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over resentment. Steps to forgive. 1. Acknowledge the hurt. You can't heal what you don't face. Admitting the pain is the first step. Psalm 34:18 reminds us, The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Bring your hurt to God and let Him comfort you. 2. Pray for strength. Forgiveness is hard, but through prayer, God gives us the strength to let go. Matthew 5:44 says, Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. It's not about justifying their actions, it's about surrendering your pain to God. A woman prayed daily for the co-worker who sabotaged her promotion. Over time, her resentment faded and she found peace. Forgiveness often transforms the forgiver first. 3. Release the debt. Forgiveness means letting go of the need for revenge or repayment. It doesn't mean condoning the behavior. It means trusting God to handle justice. Romans 12:19 says, Do not take revenge, for it is written, It is mine to avenge. A boy's little sister broke his favorite toy. He wanted to yell, but remembered how often she shared her candy with him. He smiled and said, You owe me one. Sometimes, forgiveness is as simple as choosing love over anger. Forgiveness heals not just relationships, but also your heart. Studies even show that people who forgive are healthier and happier. It's like a double blessing, God's way of rewarding us for doing what's right. Chapter 8. The blessings of choosing love and kindness. Choosing love and kindness doesn't just benefit others, it transforms your life. Proverbs 3:4 says, "Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man." When you choose love, you align yourself with God's blessings. Kindness has a ripple effect. It spreads far beyond the initial act. Imagine you help a struggling stranger today. Tomorrow, they might help someone else, and the chain continues. The widow of Zarephath, 1 Kings 17-16, showed kindness to the prophet Elijah, giving him her last meal. Her selfless act resulted in God blessing her household with an endless supply of food during a famine. A man saw an elderly woman struggling with her groceries. He helped her carry them home, only to find she lived 2 blocks uphill. Out of breath, he joked, "Ma'am, next time, can I just buy you a backpack?" Kindness is worth the effort, even if it makes you sweat. They bring favor with God and people. Kindness is magnetic. People are drawn to those who exude love. It's no wonder Proverbs 19:17 says, "Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward them for what they have done." A struggling single mother received unexpected help from her neighbor, who paid her rent for a month. Years later, she became financially stable and repaid the kindness by funding scholarships for children in her community. One small act led to countless blessings. 2, they open doors to opportunities. When you show love, God opens doors you didn't even know existed. Think of Ruth in the Bible. Her loyalty and kindness to Naomi led her to Boaz, her redeemer, and ultimately placed her in the lineage of Christ. A young man held the door open for a stranger at a job interview. Little did he know, that stranger was the CEO. When the interview began, the CEO smiled and said, "I already know you're a kind person. Let's talk business." Practical steps to choose love and kindness. 1, start small. Kindness doesn't need to be extravagant. Smile at someone, send an encouraging message, or share your lunch. The little things matter. 2, be consistent. Make kindness a habit. It's not about one grand gesture. It's about living with a heart that constantly seeks to love and help. 3, give without expecting anything. True love and kindness expect nothing in return. Luke 6:35 says, "But love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back." When you choose love, you experience peace. Your heart is free from bitterness and anger. You experience joy. There's happiness in knowing you've made a difference. You also experience God's favor. God blesses those who live by love. Kindness often comes back in ways we never expect. Choosing love and kindness isn't just about helping others. It's about transforming your own life. Start today. Be the ripple in someone's pond, the smile in someone's storm, and the blessing they didn't see coming. Let's commit to living with love and kindness. Romans 12:21 reminds us, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." If this message moved you, subscribe to Timeless Parables for more inspiring lessons. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Together, let's spread love and kindness in a world that desperately needs it. Thank you